Bereithalten. Es geht gleich los für euch. Am Start der Spurläufer Nummer 1, Valentino Puff. Die Bahn ist frei. Grün gestartet. Die nächsten Spurläufer starten um 12:30 Uhr, also in rund 6 Minuten. Wieder an der Startseite. Geht es noch knappe 10 Minuten bis zum Start des Rennens, noch knappe 10 Minuten bis zum Start des Männerrennens. 32 Athleten haben sich eingeschrieben. für Spurläufer 3 und 4 in 4 Minuten. Noch 3 Minuten für Spurläufer 3, André Müller. Noch 2 Minuten für den Spurläufer. Liebe Zuschauerinnen und Zuschauer, in Kürze geht es hier los mit dem BMW IBSF Weltcup Skeleton der Männer. 32 Athleten sind eingeschrieben am Start aus 15 Nationen. Pünktlich 12:34 Uhr starten wir. Also in knapp 9 Minuten, in gut 9 Minuten sind das 5 Minuten, Entschuldigung, 5 Minuten natürlich, nicht 9 Minuten. Starten wir zu diesem Männerrennen. Eine Minute für den Spurläufer, 5 minutes to start the race. 5 minutes to start the race. Und das zu den Skeletons. Ein Männerskeleton wiegt leer 45 Kilo. Zusammen mit dem Fahrer darf er 120 Kilo nicht übersteigen. Die Länge ist zwischen 80 und 120 Zentimeter. Und gleich geht's los mit dem nächsten Spurläufer in 30 Sekunden.
Race 4 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. We're in St. Moritz in Switzerland at the oldest, the most historic and the only natural track remaining on the planet, the Olympia Bob Run, where for more than a century and a quarter they have been racing from the town of St. Moritz down to the village of Celerina that nestles in the valley below. 32 sleds on our entry list from 15 nations, 5 of our 7 continents represented, nobody yet from Antarctica, and nobody today from Australia either. Well, let's take a look at what faces them. It is the longest track. We reach the highest speeds here, and it is just a sensation. Quite short, relatively flat start area, but you need to load and get settled before this tiny little dink, zero curve. And then there's a long straight that follows. Another tiny little nudge and another long straight, trying to avoid hitting anything, skidding, sliding, steering, down to the first corner with the name Wall. It's about 3 sort of little nudges around for a skeleton sled. Down into the first of the S's, Snake 1, Snake 2, nice gentle transition this year. Into Sunny Corner, you'll see this afternoon why it gets its name. And down into Nash and Dixon, 2 corners named after the St. Moritz Bob Club members who were Great Britain's Olympic winning team in 1964. Out of the signature corner of Horseshoe through Telephone, Shamrock, then the first of the left-handers in the forest, Devil's Dyke, long double pressure corner, into Nameless, and then Tree, and then Bridge Corner, under the railway as you go over Leap, and then Gunter Sachs, and that leads you onto the far straight down to Martineau, and over the Cresta Run into Portago, past what used to be the finish, and uphill to the new finish area, and under Frisoni's Lodge at the bottom of the track. So the longest track in the business at 1,722 metres, and it starts at 1,850 metres above sea level. Jung Seung-gi is our World Cup points leader, and in our field today there is only one former winner. In the women's field there were 4 former race winners here, only 1 winner on this track this century still competing, and that is the world champion Matt Weston. Martin Stucours, who won here no fewer than 8 times including world championship, he is coaching. Gregor Staley, the 2007 world champion on this track, is the man who runs the track. Yoon Sung-bin of Korea, 3-time winner, he's retired. Alexander Chechikov no longer competing. And Alexander Gassner, the winner here in 2021's race, he is also retired at the beginning of this season. So on our entry list, well, we kick off with Canada's Blake Enzi, then Florian Auer and Akwasi Frimpong. Matt Weston will go off in 10th place. 9th, just ahead of him, will be the Olympic champion, Christopher Groothair. And then we'll go all the way down to 2 debutants at the tail of the field, Canada's David Park and Hunter Williams from the USA. 32 start, the fastest 25 go through to Heat 2. Canada's Blake Enzi kicks off race 4 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup in sunny St. Moritz. The 22-year-old former speed skater, prodigiously quick starter. And as this is the first World Cup race of the season, indeed the only World Cup race of the season here, he begins with a new start record. And when he gets to the finish line, no matter how fast or slow he is, it will also be a new track record, because the handmade track records are set new every year because the track does change. So at Sunny Corner, and here at the signature Horseshoe Corner, there are walls onto which the ice is built. The rest of it is hand-formed through a path through the woods and over a golf course. 100.9 kilometres an hour, 62.7 as he heads down into the forest. 112, we saw the fastest women's sliders at 114.5. And the track will get quicker as the day progresses. Ooh, a little bit of work going down at the bottom, 83.4 miles an hour there. We'll see speeds nearly 137 Ks, 108.87, a new seasonal track record. So whatever else he gets for being out first, Blake Enzi gets to claim, at least for a short while, a start and track record. Here's Horseshoe. Steering a little with the hips to try and hold it away from the woodwork, and then trying to drag it down. He realizes he's on a little bit of a flat line. Gets it down nicely into the following right-hander telephone, then out of the Sachs curve. Named after Gunter Sachs, the German playboy millionaire who was a long-time president of the St. Moritz Bob Club, and who built the start area and the Dracula Club up at the start. Florian Auer next up. Florian, 29-year-old from Austria, made his World Cup debut in Altenburg back in 2015. Brother Alex is the coach, and his father, multiple race winner and world champion and World Cup champion, Christian Auer, is in town as well. And do you know what? Why wouldn't you? Just look at this place. Florian Auer, incredibly, in his 52nd World Cup start, 5:05. So Blake Enzi still holds the start record for another few minutes. Might hold it until we get to our fifth slider, Jung Seung-gi. Nice, quiet-looking run down into Snake 1 and 2, and down to Sunny Curve. If you look at some of the old pictures around the track or on the web, you'll see that there used to be a seating gallery around the outside of the top of Sunny, with benches and a wall to protect you from the wind and to keep the sun off the track as well. I think that needs to be reinstated. Best speed of all in the forest, 1:01.3. Just a whisker ahead of Blake Enzi. So he's bringing the gap back down. Now, not quite as quick as the Canadian. It starts to extend again now. Enzi had a problem coming out of the Gunter Sachs curve. Much cleaner here for Florian Auer. Best speed of all as a result. This is going to be close at the line. Needs a new track record to take the lead and doesn't get it. 1:08.95, so 800s back. Nice, tidy first run, though, from Florian Auer. Little bit to correct. Whoa! And goes base over apex over the mats. The sled goes up onto the rubber matting. Again, watch his feet here in horseshoe. Not as high maybe as he would have liked. So he's swinging the hips to try and rotate the sled, bring the nose down without a drag. Nice. You see it skidding there in the second part of the turn. So it scrubs off a little bit of speed, but he gets relatively cleanly onto telephone. Is that Dad, Christian? That is, with the sled. Now then, for Ghana, Kwasi Frimpong, 2018 Olympian. His only previous race on this track was in last January's World Championships, the third of his World Championships appearances for Ghana. This is only his third skeleton World Cup start, incredibly. So best result here in the world, 35th place. His 19th place in Beijing in the season opener is his best World Cup result so far. 5:03 getaway. So, born in Ghana, family then moved to the Netherlands, competed for the Netherlands as a sprinter, moved to the US. He now lives in Salt Lake City with his wife and 2 daughters. American slider. He's had a lot of coaching from Zach Lund. And Kwasi coming down to horseshoe, just chopping a little with the toes. Oh, and a little bit of a hit there in telephone. That's going to take some of the speed away. Key thing for him will be to try and make the second heat, be in the top 25. The problem is he's starting early, and the later sliders will have an even faster track than we have at the moment. It's quite a battle on his hands. 7 of our field won't make it through. Will he be among the 25 that do? 1:10.14. He may have to wait quite some time to find out whether he gets the second heat. Now those rubber mats, they were sufficient to stop the women. Most of the men are significantly carrying more mass than our female sliders. I think the mats need to move further down.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lottie. Happy birthday to you, Archer.
Kwasi Frimpong has completed his run, and you heard our track announcer singing happy birthday to Vladislav.
It's all good. We'll get horseshoe next one.
Yeah.
Thank you guys all for watching.
Vladislav Hereskevich of the Ukraine, who celebrates his 50th World Cup start, half a century. Just 25 years of age, two-time Olympian. He's had 13 races here in Europe Cup, Intercontinental Cup, World Cup, Junior World Championships, and last year's Worlds. He was 13th in last year's Worlds. Best ever result here, an 11th place finish. 5.07. And he is such a good form slider, which means he keeps his heels together, he keeps his aerodynamic form at the expense of personal injury quite often. Nice through snake 1 and 2. Little tap maybe going into Sonny, heard it rather than saw it. Through Nash and Dixon. Exeter Dixon's been quite tricky. There's a little bump there, and it puts you sort of not where you want to be in horseshoe. Gets out of horseshoe cleanly. He's bringing the gap right down. Good speed. 1:02.1. Nice slide from Vladislav Hereskevich. 1:14.4. Good speed indeed. 71.1 miles an hour and accelerating fast out of Sachs. Great lines from Hereskevich. 1:30 at 86 miles an hour. Fastest sled we've seen so far. It'll be a new track record for Vladislav Hereskevich and the lead of the race. There's his dad, Mikhail. A former strongman competitor, power lifter, and that's where Vlad started as well. Yeah, they've got a little bit more foam matting. Boys, I think you need another sheet. Even the smallest of our male competitors is probably going to be carrying a lot more inertia up there. Take a look again at horseshoe, not the highest line. And as a result, he's having to steer a little early in the turn to make sure he doesn't stay hung up on the exit. And he's swinging the hips to try and rotate the sled onto telephone. Not a bad job at all from Vladislav Hereskevich. And now we get to our World Cup points leader, our bronze medalist in the World Championships, celebrating his 30th World Cup start. The yellow jersey is our points leader, Jung Seung-gi of Korea. Just 24. This season alone, 4th place, gold in La Plan and silver in Innsbruck. What a season he's having. 4:74, new start record. And nice, quiet sliding. A little bit heavy onto wall. We'll wait and see. Oh, bit of a steer on the exit as well to get the line for Snake. Tap into Sonny. We've heard a few of those. 3/4 of a second up on Vladislav Hereskevich. This is a challenge for the medals. Little skiddy down into horseshoe. Nice height, great exit. Here we go. This is what builds the speed. 1:02, 1:02.8. Big speed. Little flop though out of Shamrock into Devil's Dyke. 1:42. At the bottom, maybe. 1:14.3 in the forest. Not quite as quick as Hereskevich. Oh, just avoids a brush with the wall. 1:36.8. And across the line, new track record by a margin. 1:07.67. So new best time for Jung Seung-gi. He is having a standout season, and that is another top draw effort from the Korean slider. Still just 24. Previous World Cup best here was 13th. Then, boom, bronze medal in the World Championships last season. And if that's not a medal-winning run, the man behind him, Jeff Payne, will be surprised, and he won't be alone. Can't believe that Jeff Payne didn't win on this track. Haven't got the records to prove it, but Pretty sure he did. Jung leads from Heriskevich and Enzi. 5 down, loads to go. Marcus Wyatt at Great Britain, 5th place in the World Championships last January. Previous best was 2019 when he was 7th place. And this season, 7th in Beijing, 3rd in La Plagne, 9th in Innsbruck, 5th in the Worlds. He is a race winner. Won the season opener last year in Whistler, 4:87. Nice quiet run out of the first dink. Stay away from the wall. Come on, baby. Come back, come back, come back, come back. Quietly onto wall. Even at that low speed, leaning with the head is almost enough to wheel the sled online. Nice and quiet into Sunny. No tap there. Now, the 3 British female sliders in the women's race looked like they'd had reasonably runs to Horseshoe. That's a much better run out of Horseshoe, but where is the speed? It's absolutely disappeared. Only the 3rd best speed. He's gone from 1300s behind Jung at the start to 4/10 behind Jung. This is exactly what we saw from the British female sliders. Although, in fairness, all 3 of them had pretty disappointing second parts at the track in both runs. 1:37 at the bottom, and Marcus Wyatt across the line in second, but 4300s back. There's a 8-time winner on this track. 1:08.10. Martin Stukur is the coach. We saw Matthias Kuchenberger with the women, Martin's with the men, and Team GB will have 2 teams, I think. Maybe 1 team in the team's race. Nice height, right up in the frost. But look at the way he dives out. Watch the body bend like a banana. He's already steering off before he gets to the apex and then straightens up. Done enough. That's how you accelerate out of Horseshoe.
Hey everybody, I'll keep trying to run a bit faster at the start. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, jogging off doesn't cut it, does it? So next up, Chen Wenhao of China. In the World Champs last year, where Marcus Wyatt was 5th, Chen was 9th. This is his first World Cup appearance here. He has been here in Europe Cup and in the 2018 Junior Worlds, as well as last year's World Championship, so has knowledge of the track. And although it changes subtly every year, it still means that you've got data to go back with in your head to try and work out how to get the best out of it. Come on, baby, stay away from the wall. 4:84 getaways, a whisker quicker than Marcus Wyatt. Still gives away a 10th to our current leader, Jung Seung-gi. A little early, onto the beginning of wall, maybe. Clean through Snake. No tap into Sunny. Past Monty's bolt, down into Nash and Dixon. And up to Horseshoe. He's on the left-hand side where you want to be. Decent height, but has to paddle to get out. Scrabbling off speed, a 10th behind at the start. He'll be half a second back in the forest. That gap will grow to around 6/10 maybe at the line, unless he can be really clean here. It's going to be tight between him and Marcus Wyatt. Second best speed. He might even be second at the line ahead of Wyatt. Oh, puts his head up a little early. 4300s, tied with Marcus Wyatt for second place. 1:08.10, exactly the same time, off a whisker of a starter, quicker start. Why he was popping his head up on the exit, I don't know. If you get into Portago, keep your head buried. Doesn't matter if you crash on the exit, keep the speed. Didn't have the height. Big toe steer there to rotate the sled, coming down into telephone. And a bit of a hard take on. And here, flopping in the forest. It's not helping either. So Jung Seung-gi leads from Chen Wenhao, Marcus Wyatt, tied for second. Amadeo Bañez, one of the big stories of the World Championship. the young Italian, then just 23 years of age, claiming the silver medal here last January. His 23rd World Cup start. This season, 13th in Beijing, and then 6th in La Plagne and in Innsbruck. 3 World Cups, Junior Worlds and Senior Worlds on this track, so plenty of knowledge. 4:76 getaway. Just a whisker off the fastest start of Jung. Keeping it nice and quiet, still just 200s back, so he's matching Jung, and in fact, giving away those 200s at the start, or not quite having that speed, to only still be 200s back means he's actually having a better run, and there's the proof. Into Sunny, he's in the lead. Out of Sunny, he continues to extend that advantage. He's got more speed on board than the Korean did. Nice height. Good exit into telephone, and that is going to see him with the higher speed. Little flop out of Shamrock into Devil's Dyke. Building speed, Amadeo Bañez. The Willy Schneider coached athlete on a Willy Schneider built sled. Best speed of all so far, 72.1. 1 mile an hour, quicker than anybody else. Amadeo Bañez, track record and the lead for the World Championship silver medalist at the line. It's a 1:07 dead. That's a huge advantage. $6,700 ahead of Jung Seung-gi, and suddenly the game has changed again. Crashes into the mats at a speed that nobody has previously attained today. A big smile on his face. Well, the dismount here may not be elegant, but it's a lot safer than the one in Innsbruck where we were just before Christmas. Good fast starter. Just over-rotated a fraction in the load, so he could have had more momentum. Excellent stuff. Amadeo Bañez, our World Championship silver medalist, is the leader. Here is our Olympic champion, Christopher Groothaar, also a 2-time world champion. Only finished 10th in January last year in the Worlds. Really under par performance from Christopher. 71st World Cup start. Only 1 medal ever on this track in World Cup racing. January 22, he was the bronze medalist behind Martin Stukurz and silver medalist Alexander Gassner. Nice and quiet, does not have the getaway speed of the front runners, gives away 2 tenths to Amadeo Bañez. And that's all right, 1,700 meters of ice to gain it back, but Bañez didn't make many mistakes. Nice, smooth, fluid style. Groothaar always looks like there's nothing going on, and that's when everything is working well. Ooh, shifts the hips there to get the line for Horseshoe. Half a second back, the gap's growing. Second best speed. Bañez the fastest all the way down, and Groothaar not matching that. He's half a mile an hour down, 1.5 k's back. Gap's growing still, and he's just going to be ahead of Jung at the line. There's not going to be much in it. Jung 6,700's back, he's a 10th in front. So Christopher Groothaar with a 1:07.56 into second place. Best result on this track is a bronze medal. I don't know if he's going to be in the top 3 today. It's always hard to tell from his face. That bouncing out of Dixon, and then look, the swivel of the hips to stop it drifting too far right. You want to be on the left, almost on the inside wall, and that sends you straight up to the roof, and then you steer it out at the apex. You rotate it under that horseshoe sign. There he didn't need to, because he didn't quite have that height.
Schöne Grüße nach Hause.
Grüße to you too. And now our world champion. There's Mum and Dad, Tom and Alison Weston on the balcony. Nice spot by our start line cameraman. So Matt Weston, the world champion 12 months ago, 26 years of age, 7 World Cup wins. And the 2 previous World Cup starts, 13th and 9th in 2021 and 2022. Oh, Oh, little steer into the first dink off a 4.81 getaway. Again, a quick starter. But it's the way that Matt adds the drive to the starts that has made him such a formidable force. He's gone from 500s back to 1400s back. 310s back at Sunny. This does not reflect the start well. Nice out of Horseshoe, smooth as you like. Second best speed, flops off Shamrock into Devil's Dyke, as many do. Still only third best speed. British sleds are not working well on the track today. They didn't for the women, and they are not for the men either. Only the fourth best speed on what looks like a good run from Matt Weston. Across the line in fourth, but 3/4 of a second back. Not sure there's going to be a medal in the future today for Matt Weston either. He's in fourth. Chen Wen-hao and Marcus Wyatt, his teammate, tied in fifth. And Natalie there, who's overseeing the British operation. There'll be more questions than answers. He drove well. This is sort of like 2 years ago. Okay, he was a little low there, but didn't have to work too hard to come out a Horseshoe. Nice on the exit, right down the middle.
Don't know what's happening. Second run, let's go.
Good speed, good lines. Not enough pace down the track. Amadeo Banyas is our runaway leader, the World Championship silver medalist. Race 4 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. We're in sunny St. Moritz in Switzerland. 10 of our 32 starters down in the first heat. Amadeo Banyas with a runaway lead. Next up is Sammy Meyer of Austria. Martin Haven watching the action with you trackside here in the birthplace of the sport. Best result here in World Cup racing, 12th place. Disappointing 17th in the World Championships last year for Sammy. 4.97. It's an acceptably decent start. And Meyer with enough experience on this track. Done 3 World Cups, 2 Junior World Championships, and raced here in Europe Cup as well. So he's got lots of knowledge. Nice and quiet into Sunny Corner. Now needs to get a good exit out of Dixon. It's hard, it's very bumpy on the exit this year. Nice height. You heard the helmet scraping on the ice under the G-forces in Horseshoe, but only the 10th best speed. Sled whistles past, you hear almost as much wind noise as you do anything else, whereas on an artificial track, it rumbles and rattles. Even a skeleton sled makes a noise. 8th best speed, big skid. Martino to Portago is going to cost him pace at the line. 8th at the line, 1:08.69. So Sammy Meyer in 8th place, ahead of Blake Enzie, Florinau, his teammate, and Akwasi Frimpong. I think that will see Sammy Meyer safely through into the second heat. Probably not as far up the order as he might like. Is that Andy Schmidt down there at the bottom? Well, not the best height, maybe, in Horseshoe, but comes out pretty clean. Let's see, is there hard take on? Yeah, hard take on. And that really hammers your speed at the bottom. It was Andy Schmidt down at the bottom. Great Britain's Craig Thompson, bronze medalist in the team race and 100th out of bronze in the main race. Just squeezed out over 4 runs by 100th of a second by Jung Seung-gi. Now, let's see what Craig can produce here. 31 years of age, lots of experience on this track. Best place, 4th in the world. 4.84 getaway. That's another good start. Now let's see if he can find speed where none of his British teammates have. Quietly into wall. Ooh. Scraping through snake. Out of Sonny. The gap is now out to 2700s back. Like Matt Weston, good looking run, losing speed. 3700s back. This is not athlete. There is definitely something astray with the British sleds today. This is almost like 2 years ago, before the new sled program. Blackrock was just hemorrhaging speed. Oh, and now he's all over the shot. From tree onwards, it went the wrong way. 5th place at the line, 107.84. Martin Stuckers, Matthias Guggenberger, they are the coaches. They're also the development crew for these sleds. And I really saw a transformation when they came in last year, and they've been good so far everywhere this year. But shakes his head like Matt Weston. Well, unlike Matt Weston, there were more mistakes in the forest. And here, look, late exit, flop, makes a tap, then gets sent into sacks. Late, comes out late, hits the wall, skid, hits the wall, down into Martineau and Portago. Speed going away. Craig Thompson behind Matt Weston by 800ths of a second. They're 4th and 5th. Our push world champion, Ying Cheng of China, 27 years of age now. 5th in the Winter Games in Beijing. If he ever has a better day, then I hope we all get to see it. Only one race here, that was in the World Championships in January last year, finished in 11th spot. And his best ever World Cup events, 5th in Eagles and also 5th in Beijing this season. 481 getaway, so that's plenty quick enough. Should be a top 5 run. That's the 3rd fastest start. Teammate Chen Wenhao tied for 6th with Marcus Wyatt of Great Britain at the moment. But Yin Cheng is ahead of them. 3rd fastest up to Sonny. Allen. Oh! Nash to Dixon, not at all good. Sort of missed Nash and hit Dixon head on. Oh dear. The timing is not right. He needs to gather it all back together. Barely in the top 10 in terms of speed. From the 3rd fastest start. Drifting out to 6th position. That's where we find Chen Wenhao and Marcus Wyatt. Is he ahead of them or behind them? At the line, 6th or 8th, he is 6th. So 300s ahead of Chen Wenhao and Marcus Wyatt. So that's a 3-way near dead heat. Patrick Singleton, you saw there in the coach's box at the top, part of the crew coaching these Chinese sliders. But yeah, all at 6s and 7s in Dixon. Barely noticed that Nash happened for him, to be honest. And then here, late height, slams you into the wall, then you're late again. That big smile on his face. 481, not the fastest start though. Next up is Mattia Gaspari of Italy. We're midway through our run as we get to the man from Cortina d'Ampezzo, former alpine skier. His sister still is an Italian team alpine skier. She too looking to go to the Winter Games in Milan Cortina. But we know for certain now that Mattia will not race in Cortina because there is no track. There will be no track in Cortina. Where the games will be held, we do not know. 5:03 getaway. Raced in Europe Cup here early in his career, 6 World Cups and the World Championships. And his best ever result was in the Worlds in January on this track, 7th place finish. He's already a World Championship medalist in a teams competition as well. Took a bronze medal in Altenburg. And he will be in the teams competition again this afternoon, looking for more silverware. Nice exit, good speed. Let's see if he can drag himself up into the top half dozen. Second best speed from Mattia Gaspari. He has got experience. Nearly 50 World Cup starts under his belt. This is race number 47 in the World Cup alone. Good stuff from the Italian. Again, Willi Schneider's sled working well. Third best speed. Ninth on the splits, and at the line he is in sixth position. 107.91. There is Willi Schneider. 5:03 start. 11th best start, 6th at the line. That's the experience of Mattia Gaspari.
Ciao.
Well, 7th in the world. He is 6th at the moment, so he's keeping that form from last year alive. Little drift into the first corner. Let's take a look at the height in horseshoe. Middling line. Tiniest of adjustments on the way out.
Not so good. Next round, we see.
Always things to tidy up. They are perfectionists, and perfect is hard to find. Now then, the caged tiger of the skeleton world, 25-year-old Bavarian Felix Kaisinger. 12th in the world, but the bronze medalist in the last race before Christmas in Innsbruck. He was the silver medalist here in January 2020, behind winner, as almost always, Martin Stuklors. Christian Baud, the coach, yelling him off at the top. 4:81. He's no longer absolutely the fastest of all starters, but he has got plenty of velocity getting into the sled, getting onto the sled. 500s behind Amadeo Bagnis as he leads. 1200s back at wall. Bagnis's greater velocity takes a while to undo. Out of sunny corner. 2500s back, still losing ground. Needs to find some speed out of horseshoe. He's on the right line. Nice height. Good exit, little tap. That's good enough. 4200s back, but where's the speed? Only 8th best speed. No speed on board. Felix Kaisinger has not got the setup on the runners. Ooh, and a tap into Sachs. 12th at the bottom. And a tap between Martineau and Portago. Aye, aye, aye. Well, there's lots of reasons why there was not much speed at the bottom, but there was not much speed at the top either. Silver medalist here 3 seasons ago. 4 seasons ago now. Only 12th in the world. So Felix Kaisinger behind Mattia Gaspari by 1500s. And this is all part of why below horseshoe it all started to come a little unravelled for the Bavarian. Yep, you'll see a lot of that. Amadeo Bagnis leads by a country mile. Is this a repeat of Kimberly Boss in a women's race? We reach the midpoint. The first heat, race for the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup in St. Moritz, on this legendary century-and-a-half-old track. And our 16th starter is Kim Ji-soo of Korea. 8th in the World Championships, 8th in the World Cup race here in January 2020. Are his best performances on this track. 4:76, ties the start record. No, he's 200s behind the start record of Jung Seung-gui. Second fastest start. His teammate leads now. Has Kim got the same sort of rocket boosters under him that Jung did? Amadeo Bagnis leads from Christopher Grohair and Jung Seung-gui, who's now in 3rd spot. 1600s back, Kim Ji-soo. Good line into horseshoe, nice height. Good landing into telephone and shamrock. Only the 7th best speed though. The gap is going to stretch to the leader. What was Amadeo Bagnis doing? There are lots of Schneider sleds in the field, maybe none quite as special as the Italian Schneider sleds. Good speed, 3rd fastest run. Will this be enough to put him ahead of teammate Jung, the points leader? No, he is 100th behind. I beg your pardon, he's 100 ahead of Matt Weston. He is 900ths behind his teammate. So Kim Ji-soo in 4th with a 107.75. Little flop.
The next in the
Then
box.
out of the final corner,
China.
head buried.
Wangang.
And who was we saw with that head up? Oh, Yin Cheng of China. Popped his head up to see where he was going. No, mate, get your head down. Roll across the line, doesn't matter. So, 16 sleds down, only 25 spots left in the race, and we have 16 sleds to go. Only 25 spots in total in the race, so only 9 left out of the remaining 16 sleds. My maths is awful, isn't it? Yang Wengang of China, next up. Olympic bronze medalist in Beijing. His day of days, 4:83 getaway. He's had plenty of racing experience on this track in Europe Cup, the Intercontinental Cup, Junior Worlds, World Cup and World Championships. And his best was 6th place in the Worlds last January. As you might expect, his most recent race on the track is his best, using all of the experience of previous years. 7th at the start, up to 5th on the splits. Good-looking run so far. Needs good height, doesn't have good height. Uncomfortable into telephone. And as a result, speed's going away. Hard onto Devil's Dyke. Line's not good in the fast section down here in the forest. Again, lots of scraping out of sacks, pinballing down the straight into Martineau, skidding into Portago. A race of 2 halves, or a run of 2 halves. 108.30. And that leaves him in 12th place. 300s ahead of Vladislav Heraskevich. Well, it's looking pretty decent up to Nash and Dixon. And out of horseshoe, he didn't have the height, didn't land it into telephone. Here's the exit horseshoe, late off. Gets crossed over hard before the on-taker telephone. And then out of Shamrock, same deal, onto Devil's Dyke, late. Late onto Sachs, gets spat off into the wall on the straights down to Martineau. Lots to work on for the second heat for Yang Wengang. Now then, Jacob Salisbury, youngest athlete in the field at just 18 years of age, a former swimmer who started sliding in November 2020. 3rd in last year's now defunct Intercontinental Cup. Has not raced on this track. 4th World Cup start. So where's he going to end up? Well, for 4:83 start, he's got a good opportunity to shine. What he doesn't have is knowledge and experience of this place, and that does count a lot. But only 700ths off the leader, Amadeo Bagnis, from the start, out to 2200s now. So he's tracking a relatively similar path to Matt Weston and Craig Thompson, his teammates. Starting close to the Italian and losing speed all the way down. Nice out of Nash and Dixon. Not much to argue with in the first part of the run. Decent enough into telephone and Shamrock. Clean onto Devil's Dyke. Where's the speed? 1.3 miles an hour slower. 2 miles an hour slower than Bagnis at this stage.
Sainsbury.
So this is going to be not even a top 10 run for Jacob Salisbury. He will get a second run. And at the line, 14th, 108.42, and I expect to see the same puzzled look from him as we saw from Matt Weston, Marcus Wyatt and Craig Thompson. Matt Weston 5th, Craig Thompson 6th, Marcus Wyatt 10th, Jacob Salisbury in 14th spot. Well, not a bad run for the youngster. Didn't have the height in horseshoe. Not big steering to come out. And I think he was pretty decent in the take on to telephone as well. Not too much of a bump. The speed. The sleds are not holding the speed. Jacob Salisbury, who we just saw in his 4th World Cup start. Axel Jung in his 67th World Cup start. Nobody in the field, apart from Christopher Groothair, has more World Cup races under their belt. Olympic silver medalist Axel Jung, behind the champion Christopher Groothair. A huge day for him. Silver here in January 2018, bronze in January 2020. Only 18th in the Worlds last year. Has to have a bit of a chop into the first corner off a 4.94 start. Only the 12th best getaway. Altenberger's home track, lives in Dresden, in Saxony. Out of Sunny, half a second back, 12th at the start, 13th on the splits, not making many inroads into the front runners, Amadeo Banyas, Christopher Groothair and Jung Seungui. Olympic bronze medalist Yang Wengang is currently in 12th. He is on target to be ahead of him, but not by a great deal. Doing everything he knows how to try and keep the speed up. 5th best speed. This is much better at the bottom than we've seen from the British sleds, but still only 8th at the line, 107.92. Again, unlikely to see a medal for Axel Jung today. Last medal on this track for him in 2020. Martin Stukurs, Felix Keisinger and Axel Jung. So he and Felix had their last medals here in the same race. He's had a number of trials and tribulations with back injuries over the years, Axel Jung. Maybe not at his fittest.
Medium. Thank you for watching.
Hey, thank you for coming. Without you, we don't have a race to watch. But without you and all the others as well. Next up, Felix Seibel for Germany. Only the 4th World Cup race for the 26-year-old. 6th here in the Junior Worlds back in 2018. Best World Cup result was in La Plagne in France, the 2nd race of the season. Finished in 9th place. Let's see what he has got for us this morning. 4.96, couple of hundreds behind Axel Jung at the start. And of course, you judge yourself against the fastest starters, but you also judge yourself against your own teammates. Christopher Groothair started 4.95. Felix Seibel started 4.96. So, in theory, shouldn't be too far behind Groothair. Of course, in practice, because of Groothair's huge experience, it's going to be a bit more of a yawning gap. 2/10s back from Banyas at the start, now 5700s back, 7/10s. Speeds pretty decent, 103.2. Only Amadeo Banyas has gone quicker. 3rd best speed from Felix Seibel. Producing a good run here. Not much previous experience. At Junior Worlds in 2018 is a long time ago. 7th at the line, 107.88. So outraces teammate Axel Jung. Slips 300s in front of Mattia Gaspari for 7th spot. And he's 400s behind Craig Thompson, 800s behind Matt Weston in 5th, 900s out of 4th, and a little over 2100s, little over 2/10 out of the medals. Well, it's good height, really good height in horseshoe, and made the best of it at the bottom. That's where the speed came from. So the higher the tower you drop a stone from, the faster it accelerates. Amadeo Bagnis leads in the battle for best of the rest. It's Christopher Groothair from Jungseongi. 20 sleds down, 12 to go. 5 places remain in the race as we get to Austin Florian of the USA. Comfortably the most experienced of the male sliders in the US program. Now that Katie Uhlaender has returned to the women's team, significantly not the more experienced. However, 4 World Cup races here, best 10th place in January 2021, 4:84 getaway. And if he can build on that speed, that could be very handy indeed. Only 800s behind Amadeo Bagnis. A little bit of ice being used through Snake 1 and 2. Nice and sunny. Ooh, little tap going into Dixon. Comes out straight though. Big height in horseshoe. Oh, crashes down into telephone. And what might have been good speed is now barely going to get him to the finish line. And suddenly the sled looks so pedestrian compared to the first part of the run. And with the speed going away, all the lines that he's practiced in the 6 runs in 2 days of training will be for nothing because he's not got the speed to use them. Across the line, 18th, 108.80. He's gone from comfortably in the top 10, crashing out a horseshoe, dropping to barely in the top 20.
Start time was 4:84, down time 108.80.
What?
108.80.
Horseshoe, good height, just about gets away with it at the woodwork, which means you don't get bounced down and fired down into telephone, but he knows he's going to be late. But in fact, he made it too early onto telephone. Look at that. Shoulders and hips doing as much running on the ice as the sled was there. Great height in telephone. Didn't trust it. Dragged it down too soon. Next up, our 22nd starter, Rasmus Johansson. 21 years of age. At the age of 20, he came to the World Championships last year. Silver medalist in the Junior Worlds last week in Lillehammer. 9th in the Youth Olympic Games here in 2020, so he does know the track. Did the qualifiers, did the Youth Olympic Games in 2020, did Junior Worlds here in 21, did the World Championships here in 23. Let's see what the young Dane has got for us. 17th best start. He was 21st in the World Championships, just missing out on the final run. 14th in Beijing at the start of the season, his best World Cup result so far. Inside the top 20 at the moment. Oh, big height, gets fired down, somehow handles it. Great reflexes, but that looks like it's taken the speed out of the sled. 14th best speed. Could still be a top 15 run for Rasmus Johansson. 8th best speed at the bottom. Johansson is flying. Coached by the Germans and across the line, 14th place. Wow. one thing I'm pretty sure of is that the guys in the truck will give us a replay of the exit of Horseshoe. That's a good run. 21st in the world. That's a 14th best run. But yeah, they're talking about Horseshoe. Here we go. Bang, the Dave Kreszczeshin Horseshoe hit. And that immediately completely changes the parabola. The impact there wasn't a big hit, but he came down, scrambled his way into telephone somehow. Let's take a look at this. How much ice comes flying up as he disappears out of shot? Not much.
Knapp.
All right, that was 50-50, but Johansson got away with it. At the line now, Alexander Schlintner of Austria, 25-year-old former handball player. He must have been a force on a handball court. He's just a beast. Started in 2013. He's raced here in Europe Cup, 2 Junior Worlds, World Cup and World Championships. So he's got knowledge. 4.97 starts exactly the same time that we just saw from Rasmus Johansson. Nice quiet run. Just hanging the legs out very slightly to the left to drift the sled around, just to keep it from moving over to the right-hand wall as he saw it. Cleanly into Sonny, into Nash and Dixon. They're more benign this year, apart from the exit of Dixon. Nice and smooth run down into Telephone and Shamrock. Cleanly onto Devil's Dyke. This will help hold the speed up. 17th at the start. Looking for a top 20 run here. Wants to put as many sleds behind him as he can. Where's he going to be? 18th best speed, 20th, 21st at the line, 20th, 1:8.87. All right, 20th at the line, tied with Blake Enzi. So either both or neither will make it through into the second heat. There's Andy Schmidt at the bottom helping out.
Ja, das wird jetzt noch knapp. 25 kommen in den zweiten Lauf. Schlittner fährt auf den 20.
One of the hardest things in sport, starting and loading on ice, whether it's skeleton or bobsleigh.
Servus und zu Hause. Liebe Grüße.
I don't care how many times you look at it, it still never looks easy. From Austria, Alexander Schlintner. From Italy, Manuel Schwerzer. And if he doesn't have the most Italian-sounding name, it's because he doesn't come from the east near Cortina like Mattia Gaspari. It's because he comes from Südtirol in the west of Italy, which has got a German-speaking population. It's a huge sliding centre as well for the Italians. And a 4.98 getaway for Manuel Schwerzer, former luge slider, like the great Armin Turgler, also from Südtirol. Took to skeleton. He's had half a dozen races here. Best 25th place in January 2019. Nice, smooth-looking run so far. 20th fastest start, and he needs to hang on in 20th place or find some improvement. Let's see the exit of Dixon again, that little bounce. Oh, very low. And that costs him speed because he doesn't dive down out of Horseshoe and he has to fight it into Telephone. Double jeopardy. 14th best in the forest. He is up to 19th place, though, ahead of Austin Florian of the USA and Alexander Schlintner, who just went before him. 10th best speed at the bottom. This could be enough to catch Sammy Meyer for 18th spot at the line. Yes, he does. Goes ahead of Sammy Meyer. Good bottom half of the track. Despite that low line in Horseshoe, despite having to work hard to get into Telephone, he was clean below there. Salvaged a decent run out of what could have been a bit of a nightmare. So Manuel Schwerzer Not the hugest smile on his face. And he's way below where he'd like to be for horseshoe. Watch him paddling away, both toes, not really quite convinced of where he's going to end up. Scrambles into telephone, but ends up in 18th place. He'll make the race. 25th of our starters. This will fill our second heat. Is Dan Barefoot from the USA, 33 years of age, raced last year in the Intercontinental Cup. Has raced here precisely once before, taking 26th place in last year's World Championships. So his third World Cup start is his second race on this track. Ooh, hits hard in the first corner. So anything he might have got out of that 494 start has been sucked out of the sled, I'm afraid. We saw Katie Uhlaender in the women's race for the USA with the bald eagle on the helmet, and I said when we saw Dan in the World Championships and this year that helmet very much reminds me of Katie's with the eagle eyes on the front. In fact, the sliding style not dissimilar either. It doesn't have the classic aerodynamic heels together style. It's whatever works for you. Different body shapes, different sliding styles. You can make them work on these sleds. 10th best speed. Well, he was 13th at the start, drifted out to 18th on the splits, but with that speed, and again, almost in the top 10 in speed, that could drag him up the order. This could be a top 14, 15 run from Dan Barefoot. 8th best speed at the bottom. Fantastic second part of the run. After that dink in the first corner, he is 14th at the line. That is commendable focus and relaxation from the American slider. After the very first corner, he sort of clumped rather than drifted round. Got it all together.
494, down time 108.19, you're 14th at home.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Well, now, here's really the worst bit of the run. Not the run here, but the worst bit of the run is where he dinks that first corner. It drifts too far to the right. He's trying to steer it away, but in the end, just gets a bit too much of that first turn.
Let's go again.
Well, you will get to go again, and the rest of it is down to the remaining 7 sleds to see who else joins him in the second heat. Amadeo Bañez leads, but it's not the top. It's the back of the field that concerns us. 25th at the moment is a Quasi Frimpong. He's in the race now. Adrian Rodriguez of Spain, the 27-year-old, in only his 4th World Cup race. So he has 1 more World Cup than a Quasi, but considerably less experience. And certainly on this track. Raced here in a team's World Championship and the Worlds. Last January, there's only 2 days on this track. 5:05, and for the remaining athletes, it is all about making the cut. 21st, best speed, 24th at the start. And he needs to get as high as he can, because beating 1 or 2 sleds may not be enough. Be a real devil take the hindmost race here. Again with Ajahn, you can see the elbows sticking out. That's quite common in less experienced sliders. Gives them the opportunity to move the sled more. It does create drag. 19th best speed. He is in the race at the moment in the top 20. 15th best speed. And this, I talked about it early on, a Quasi Frimpong 3rd out, Florinau 2nd out, Blake Enzie 1st out. That's possibly going to hurt them late on. Still 16th best speed, 19th, maybe 18th at the line, 20th at the line, just behind Manuel Schwerzer. But he is in. And that might be enough. That might well be enough. So Adrian Rodriguez is in, a Quasi Frimpong is out, and the other 2 of the first 3 starters, Florinau and Blake Enzie, are in the drop zone. Not the greatest height, It was acceptable, but again, look at the right elbow sticking out there. And he does this all the time in every slide, so it's clearly something that just happens with his body, whether he's conscious of it or not.
Feliz año, muy buena bajada. Vamos a ver.
Happy New Year to you as well. So is Adrian Rodriguez good to go? Well, now then, Colin Freeling returning from dramatic appendicitis surgery, the Belgian. Burst appendix in La Plan, managed to get to Innsbruck before going to hospital. Raced here in the qualifiers and the Youth Olympics in 2020, where he was 10th, and raced in the Worlds last January. 5:24 getaway, so some work to do for the Belgian slider. Will go in the teams competition with Kim Marmans. Third World Cup race for Colin. Should have been his fourth, but as I said, was in hospital in Innsbruck rather than on ice. Ooh, little skid down into Horseshoe. Two away from the race at the moment. Needs to get ahead of at least a Kwasi Frimpong and Florinauer, and preferably Blake Enzie if he can. He's ahead of the Ghanaian, not yet in the top 25. Decent speed though, look at that. 8th fastest in the forest. Good exit here, could be enough. If he comes clean out of Sachs, and he does, there was a little bit of chin on the ice, but still 8th best speed. Is this going to be enough to put him in the race? It could be, it is. 1:08.74, he's in 22nd place. That might be enough. What it is enough to deny Florinauer a second heat. Everywhere else, first, second and third start draw is pretty much great. Here, it's pretty much the last thing you need if you're struggling for speed anyway. Well, great to see Colin back healthy and on ice. Of course, with that appendix surgery, he's missed sort of 2 or 3 or 4 weeks of sliding and training.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for watching.
All right, Colin Freeling is in the drop zone now, tied for 24th place, Alexander Schlittner and Blake Enzie. Is Livio Sommermatter of Switzerland going to be their nemesis? 6th in the Junior Worlds last week in Lillehammer, Junior European gold medalist, Youth Olympic bronze medalist on this track in 2020, and silver medalist in the under-20 Junior Worlds in 2021. So he has got good feelings here, no question at all. 4:85, that's a very handy start. That's 4/10 quicker in the getaway than we just saw from Belgium's Colin Freeling. 12th best start from Livio Sommermatter. This could be a really big run for the Swiss. If he can nail Horseshoe and hold it together at the bottom. Good height. Oh, bit of a hit on telephone. Skating through Shamrock. Tidies it up for Devil's Dyke, but the speed's gone. Was 10th. Might struggle to make the race. 15th on the splits. And that's how much drama Horseshoe can produce. Rattles out of Sachs as well. 19th on the splits. Is he going to be in? He should be. Hovering around 22nd, 23rd. Oh, 17th. Held it together. He's very comfortably in the race. And that now means that tied for 25th, Alexander Schlittner and Blake Enzie. So they are still in the race. Anybody in the top 25 goes through, but Livio Sommermatter, 17th at the line. That's a very good run. Good height in Horseshoe. Little uncomfortable on the dismount though. Whips in hard, skids onto telephone. Yes. 4 to go. Well, Livio Sumamata could well be on target for very much his best World Cup result. Vincent Spuff of Switzerland, Junior World Championship bronze medalist last week in Lillehammer. And if that doesn't give him confidence coming to home track, then what would? Third World Cup start for him, as for Colin Freeling, as for Livio Sumamata. Only joined the World Cup this season, long skid down into the first turn off a 5:04 start. That's gonna hamper his speed early on. Lots of traffic overhead going into the airport, isn't there? Busy Friday, everybody coming for the weekend in St. Moritz. Not everybody arrives by private jet, I have to say. Some of us come by car or on the train. 27th best speed, 27th place rather at the minute on the splits. Oh, not great high from Vincent Spuff. The middle of 3 sliding brothers, but good speed, 8th best. Is this enough to put him into the race? It's him or Alexander Schlindler and Blake Enzie at the moment. And at the moment, it is him. He's in 25th. He's clean out of sacks, and he is pretty much. Top 10 speed will do it. He's in the race, and out go Alexander Schlindler and Blake Enzie. 19th of the line, 1:08.41 for Vincent Spuff. Best in his 2 previous World Cup starts was 22nd in La Plagne. And the Junior World Championship bronze medalist makes the second heat here at home in St. Moritz. Woo! Finished 24th in the Worlds. Nice medium line, but well controlled to build that speed out of Horseshoe. He knew he had it, didn't he?
Let's go!
Woo. Let's go indeed. Next up, for Chinese Taipei, Chang Chung-hung, 25 years of age, competed in the Youth Olympic Games, not here in 2020, in 2016 in Innsbruck, but in Luge. In 2017, we saw him in the World Championships in Koenigsegg as a skeleton slider. So that was a pretty quick transition. Only raced here in 2018 in the Intercontinental Cup, so not much experience of the track and none recent. Wasn't here in the Worlds. Third World Cup start. Does he have what it takes to get into the second heat? 5:27 getaway. And again, it's not about his deficit to the leader so much as where he is compared to the top 20. Little drift down into Snake, but it's a relatively benign, into wall rather, relatively benign. Snake 1 and 2 are as well. Feet well up. Getting the weight just over the front of the rock to give him a little bit of control. Down to Horseshoe. Nice smooth line so far. This should be good for speed. Only the 30th start. He's giving away a lot at the start. .26 speed. And again, pretty inexperienced on the track. So he won't have set this sled up to be really nervous and maybe as fast as it might be in years to come. Across the line, 1:09.78, 29th place for Chang Chung-hung. So the athlete from Chinese Taipei will be watching the second heat. And right now, Austin Florian of the USA is the man feeling the pressure in the drop zone. So Chang Chung-hung, just 25 years old, representing Chinese Taipei. And only his third World Cup start and his second time ever on this track. So So lots of learning in his future, and he's certainly enjoying his sliding. 2 sleds to go, and 2 brand new names to the World Cup. First up for Canada, 27-year-old David Park. Raced in North America's Cup and Intercontinental Cup. Has not raced on this track, though. Made his North America's Cup debut in Lake Placid in November 2019, the first race of that season. As did our remaining slider. 4.90, that's a decent start at this end of the field. 14th fastest getaway out of, so far, more than 30 sleds. But no experience on the track. Canada's coach Joe Cicchini said he was looking to cycle lots of athletes through the team this year to get a feel for who's got what it takes to compete in the World Cup. As a result, David Park getting his debut here in the most glamorous location of them all. Well, 14th at the start, out to 28th on the splits. And you can see it is the run of somebody with very little experience of the track. Not as neat and tidy as he would like. Finds himself on the wrong side going into Martineau. And again into Portago. Across the line in 30th spot, 1:10.14. So, on his debut, does not get a second heat. But hardly to be too much of a surprise. Great opportunity, though, to come here and slide in St. Moritz. He's definitely enjoying himself in training. A low line in Horseshoe. That's the conservative line, definitely. Comes out into telephone, just a little early on.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. I'm up on Nazia.
Little bit more height there in Horseshoe would have helped. And our final slider is our second debutant, a rookie from the USA, Hunter Williams, 31 years of age. Like David Park, made his debut in North America's Cup sliding in Lake Placid in November 2019. Here, 4 years later, makes his World Cup debut. 3 years later, 3 seasons later. This is his very first race on the track. And gets away 4.92, so only a whisker slower than David Park of Canada, who we just saw. 14th best speed off the 15th best start. Oh, but it's skidding underneath him. So much of this early part of the track is knowing the nothing to do that keeps you straight. Not fighting it like you would have to at a Lake Placid or a Whistler maybe, or even an Altenburg or a Winterberg, but so quiet. Down into Horseshoe, good height. Ooh, that's not bad. Oh, a little late flop. Was in 20th place. Drifting out away from the top 20. Speed only 27th, 28th, 30th. And he's dropped out of the race. That's a real shame, because up to Horseshoe he was in. But below Horseshoe has not found the sweet spot. And he's not going to make the race. Where does he end up at the line? He is 29th place, just behind Blake Insey and Florian Auer. So doesn't get a second heat, unfortunately, in his debut. 1:09.23. Well, he makes his World Cup debut at the most historic track in them all. Good height in Horseshoe. The first part of the track was good. But from Horseshoe, clearly finding it a little bit of a different proposition to training. And here again, late exit and a flop.
Hi, thanks for watching.
Well, good to see Hunter Williams of the USA and David Park of Canada making their World Cup debut, as so many already have this season. Probably about a dozen new World Cup sliders. Well, not new to the business is the silver medalist from our World Championships in January last year, Amadeo Banhis. Leaving world champion Matt Weston and everybody else absolutely breathless in his wake. he has more than half a second in hand over the rest of the field. Well, Kimberly Bos of the Netherlands, very early out in the first run of the women's. That sort of masked her speed. In the second heat, she went away to win by 3/4 of a second. Amadea Banis on a quicker, slicker track, half a second ahead of two-time world champion and Olympic champion Christopher Grote here. Jung Seung-gi in third, Kim Ji-si of Korea in fourth. It's a great run for him to be ahead of Matt Weston and Craig Thompson. And Felix Kaisinger and Axel Jung round out the top 10. And then behind them, Dan Barefoot, 14th place. Good run from him, good from Rasmus Johansson as well. Some very strong runs late on. Livio Sommermatter tied for 17th with Vincenz Buff. They both had great runs from late in the field. Colin Freeling makes the cut in 24th, and the final slider who goes through is Austin Florian of the USA. From Alex Schlintner, Blake Enzi, Florian Auer, Hunter Williams, Chang Chung-hung, David Park and Kwasi Frimpong. They will join the spectators to watch the second heat, and you can as well. We'll be back very shortly at 14:25. That is 34 minutes from now. Till then, from me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew here in St. Moritz, bye for now. We will see you at 14:25 Central European, 13:25 TMT. That's 08:25 Eastern.